Welcome to Tough Conversations with David Wood, where play meets depth. We help teams and high-performing leaders like you to master your tough conversations so you succeed in your career and in your life. When we avoid tough conversations, we stay small. Teams stay disengaged, conflicted, and ultimately end up quitting. When we lean in and master our tough conversations, they become the defining moments that literally shape our careers, our relationships, and our lives. So let's dive in and master your next tough conversation so you can be the leader that you would follow. Let's play. Welcome everybody. In this episode of Tough Conversations with David Wood, I share with you a speech I gave to a mastermind group in Florida. This is run by a very good friend of mine, old and dear friend, Ezra Firestone, who runs a company called Smart Marketer and Boom by Cindy Joseph. And he asked me to come to speak to his mastermind, which is entrepreneurs who are very successful in their chosen field. He said, come and speak to them. And the topic we chose was action, truth, and daring. So in this speech, you're going to get some very concrete tips you can follow to double your productivity. And I'll share some of my personal stories and what's really influenced me to be more truthful and more daring. I hope you get a lot out of it. Let's dive right into the speech.
David coaches a few folks in Blue Ribbon. He's one of the best life coaches and business coaches that I've ever met. He's got a really incredible way of connecting with people and having them see whatever's holding them back and get it out of their way. So let's give it up for David Wood, ladies and gentlemen.
If I died today, what would I regret about how I'm living my life right now? It's a big question, yes? Ezra was messing with me earlier. He's like, that's a bit heavy, man. It's like, yeah, it is, but wouldn't you rather ask the question now than in 20 years when it's too late to do anything about the next 20 years? I like this question as a guiding light. Just like, am I living the way I really want to? And sometimes the answer is yes. If it's not, let's find out now. So here's what I want for you. To optimize your work and your life. The people who just want a great business don't normally come to me. And the people who just want to work on their life and their relationships don't normally come to me. The sweet spot for me, I figure, why can't we have it all? Is that too much to ask?
No.
Thank you. I would like you to have zero regrets. On our deathbed, I imagine most of us will have some regrets, but we can minimize them. My brand is called Play for Real, and I came up with this because I believe life is a game. I think it's a serious game. It's got very high stakes. But when we consider that we're playing, we don't get as tense, and we don't get as serious. But I say play for real because I don't want you to think we're just frolicking through the meadows with butterflies around our hair and like nothing matters. Let's play as if this might be the last life we get. I think Ezra's a really good example. I suspect, I have a story that you're here at Blue Ribbon because you want someone who knows about business success, but who also prioritizes life. I went and visited Ezra, and it was great to see how he actually lives. Like, we'd be in the car and he'd be handling a couple of phone calls, he'd handle an employee issue, and then we bought sand. Why do we buy sand? So that he could dump it on his private beach, because that's what you do with sand. But he mixes it up, and I like that. I think it's a good example. Now, the last couple of years, I've looked at why have I devoted my life to helping people's lives be better? Why do that? I can make money a lot of ways. And I think it might have started when I was little. I lost my little sister. I was about 7, and she was killed, and I witnessed it. I saw that. And we didn't know anything about PTSD at the time. I figured, all right, she's gone, that's the end of it. Yeah, apparently that's not the end of it. So what happened is I got really good at school. I came top of my school. I got paid to go to university. I ended up being a consultant on Park Avenue for some big name companies, Sony Music, Ford, Exxon, Procter & Gamble. For anyone who's into statistics, I was an actuary. So I thought, you know, I'm doing it right. I'm going for the business success. It took me almost to the age of 30 to realize I was missing half, at least, of life. I was missing the emotional intelligence. I was missing deep connection with people. I was missing being vulnerable. I didn't know anything about that. So I've spent the last 20 years catching up, and as I learn about more truth and more daring and things that make my life better, I want to pass it on. So does that paint a little bit of a picture of like why I do this?
Yes.
Thank you. You realize you're the only one with the microphone. Yeah. All right. So that was a little bit about my business path. Too many choose business success or life success. I want to give you today, I thought, how do I change people's lives in 30 minutes? Tall order, but I want to give you one thing that's practical. I don't think it's very sexy, but it's practical that you can take away and use straight away, and hopefully one thing that's going to be inspirational. 3 areas you can focus on to have things get better. One is the technicals, and you've had a lot of talk today about things like that. Your social media calendar, you might study how to optimize your shopping cart. These things are important. On the right side of this intersection, you've got the practicals, which I don't think are sexy, but they're so important, and those are goals, planning, and action. And then we've got growth. If you're not growing as a human being, it just seems self-evident to me. I can't even justify it. I'm biased towards growth. Whenever I grow, life seems to get better. I'm here to propose that if you focus on the technicals, the practicals, being goals, planning, and action, and you grow as a human, then you get the really good stuff. But I don't want to skip. I was going through my presentation and talking about all these business results that Ezra helped me with. I don't want to skip over the friendship. Because yeah, you were there for all this business stuff, but also at one of the lowest points in my life, you were there to be a friend and pick me up off the mat. So I want to acknowledge you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, man. My pleasure.
Yeah. So I added that at the last minute, and now it feels kind of full circle that after Ezra supporting me and coming to my very first events, I get to come here and be with your crew. I'll go quickly through G and P, but I really want to give you practical things you can do on action. Real goals, real plan, and real action. Most of the clients that come to me are very successful. They're entrepreneurs who are doing well. They're executives, managers, vice president level. So they're not struggling generally, but most of them are missing at least one of these. So I'm going to invite you as we go through this to even score yourself out of 10 on each one, goals, planning, and action. Just see where you are. Real goals, quite simple. Is there a time frame involved? Let's say 12 months. Do you know exactly what you want? Is it specific and measurable? And do you include life goals, or do you only have business goals? So if you want, just write down out of 10. If you feel like you're nailing it, give yourself 9 or 10. And if you feel like you've got some work to do in that area, give yourself less than that. Real plan. This is not rocket science. Again, it's not sexy. It's just practical. That goal that you've got, say, over 12 months, have you broken it down into what's going to happen each month? It's such a simple concept. Have you broken it down into what happens each week and maybe even each day? So just having a plan to get where you want to go. And this is my favorite because I think it's the low-hanging fruit where most people can get the biggest difference. The mind is like a monkey on crack. It's just incredible what the human mind can do and what it jumps to. And I have a theory that the reason we try to do so many things in a day, we try and handle Facebook and Messenger and email and meetings and doing 10 things at once, is partly because we want entertainment. It's kind of fun. It's stressful. It's stressful fun. But if you want results over entertainment, then I'm going to invite you to focus. And I say that focused attention is what will produce success. I'm going to offer you some homework, something that you can practice for the 7 days following this event. And if you like it, whether you're good at it or bad at it, if you like it, then keep it. And if not, throw it away. Here's the homework. A lot of my clients have trouble with this. This is not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. All right, number 1, choose 2 needle movers, which means 2 things that would move the needle in your life or business. And I like to do this the day before. So my alarm is set for 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Goes off, says, set your targets. 8 o'clock in case I missed the 5 o'clock one. And then I'll pick 2 things that if that's all I did the next day, I'd feel happy about the day. Simple stuff. I use the metaphor of it's fun to be adrift on the ocean in a boat, like just be blown about by the wind, which is kind of like opening your email box and responding to what comes at you. But it's also cool to pick your direction, navigate, set your sail, set the rudder. You'll still get blown around, but it feels good to wake up knowing what you're going to do. That's number 1. Number 2, diarize real action blocks of time. So consider this as a sacred date with yourself. You might say 9 o'clock till 11 o'clock, 3 days a week. That's my time. I do my focused action, no one comes near me. Or it might be Saturday from 8 till 3. Whatever it is, put these in your calendar and guard these times jealously, because life will do everything it can to throw you off this. Turn off all distractions. How many people have the experience of sitting down, I'm going to crank this out, I'm going to write 3 chapters of the book. Oh, what's that notification on Facebook? Oh, let me just check that out. No, I'm not going to respond to that. I'm back to the book. Ding, email. Well, let me just have a little look at email. No, I'm not doing email today. Then someone comes into the office. Then you get a phone call. I imagine 200 years ago, it was simpler. I'm going to chop down a tree today. Get up, go out and chop down a tree. It's not like, oh, wait, the mailman, I'm going to run for a letter. Like, imagine it was simpler. Today, it's amazing any of us get anything done. So turn off all distractions, and you can do this on the computer. You can set it to no notifications. You can put your phone on airplane mode. You can bribe the kids with whatever you need to. Tell the wife or the husband, this is my time, please protect me. And you can even put a sign on your office door or go to some room where people don't know where you are. This might sound overkill until you try it. I see some smiling and some laughing. And then 4, this is a ninja move. Set a 25-minute target. It's one thing to say, all right, 2 hours, this is what I'm going to do. But it's kind of vague and amorphous. Set a 25-minute target and a 25-minute timer. In 25 minutes, I'm going to draft my presentation, first draft. It gives you a mini sprint. It's kind of fun. 25 minutes, timer goes off, you get up, move your body, roll around, make a cup of tea, whatever, and then do another one. It's called the Pomodoro technique. Here's a chance to commit, and no pressure, I don't mind, I'm not going to see a lot of you again. Who would like to commit right now to trying this at least once over the next 7 days? Hands up. Thank you. Keep your hand up if you do commit right now, not would like to. All right, great. I hope you let me know how it goes. So I want to give you some evidence that this works. Bradley Long, Ezra put us in touch. Ezra sent an email out about my coaching a couple of years ago. Bradley's got a website called shoptimized.net, and he was doing really well. But he came to me, and after talking to him for 10, 15 minutes, I said, I think you have shiny object syndrome. You see a new thing and you want to go and do it. He's like, yeah. And he said, can you help me focus? I said, yeah, I think I can. So we tried some of the action steps that I just took you through, and he moved his family to Costa Rica from the UK. He cut his hours in half. And again, I used Ezra as an example of what's possible. It's like, you don't have to grind. And he started hitting monthly sales records. He got his first $100,000 month, and then month after month, he kept beating it, and they had their 5th child. So I'm not saying if you have a 5th child, you'll have $100,000 months every month. But I'm saying this shows that it's possible to have both. You can have work-life balance, and you can have business success. Okay, this is the stuff I really like to talk about. Real growth. I identified 2 things when I looked back over my life and thought, what's had me grow the most? I came up with truth and daring, and they go together really well. So truth, I was raised implicitly or explicitly, don't rock the boat. We're Australian. Sweep things under the carpet. Don't tell that person you're offended. Don't tell that person you want them to change their behavior. It might just be awkward. So I learned not to say things. Don't rock the boat. Don't reveal things if people might judge you. If you've got a health issue, don't say it because people might not want to work with you. So this was how I grew up. But I found that hiding is expensive. It'll cost you to tell the truth. If you go and confess to something, say you confess to a crime, you could be prosecuted. If you broke an agreement with your partner, they may break up with you. Like, the truth can be expensive. I just believe that in the long run, in most cases, hiding is more expensive. Because I found that I feel small and I don't feel good about myself. And the more people have encouraged me to take a risk, tell more and more of the truth, usually I feel better about myself, my confidence grows, and sometimes I tend to attract the right people. You lose a couple of friends, but I suspect they're the ones you could stand to lose. So some examples. I was having lunch with somebody, and he started telling me about a conference and how there was axe throwing, and then the end of the story was how he came second in the axe throwing competition out of 75 people. And then he said to me, actually, that's why I brought up the conference and the axe throwing, because I wanted you to know I came second out of 75 people. You think that had me like and trust him less, that he revealed that? No, I liked and trusted him more. I'm like, all right, this guy's willing to tell me what's really going on. Now, you don't have to do big reveals. Small reveals, like I had someone not show up for a coaching session. I'd gifted him a coaching session. He didn't show up and said, oh, my bad, I've rescheduled it for next week. Really? You've just rescheduled it for next week, like it's no big deal. I had an issue with that, but my mind's saying, do not speak up. This guy's in the industry. He could say David's oversensitive. He's high maintenance. I really had this strong urge to sweep it under the carpet. I finally brought it up with him. I said, look, I just want to speak up. I felt like you didn't respect my time. Maybe you do. I'd just like to hear that you do. He was so impressed that I brought it up. We're going to do a podcast interview about this and about how I addressed it. But that's an example of a small thing of telling the truth. The bigger end, I've coached a client through confessing to cheating. She risked her marriage by confessing. When I was 18, I cheated on my first partner. I'm still embarrassed to say that. I could have swept it under the carpet. I ended up confessing. She broke up with me, as she should. I repaired the relationship, and we ended up getting married. But I could have carried that for 30 years as a secret. I don't think it's worth it in most cases. If we're looking at 30 years in jail, hey, I'm not messing around. I used to think you should tell the truth all the time. All the time. But hey, if I'm coming into the US and immigration says, are you intending to work in the country, Mr. Wood? I would never do that. Seriously, I was in Bali and I was subletting a villa. I rented my villa and I sublet it to somebody else. You can't do that. And I knew there would be trouble, but I didn't know there could be jail time. And when immigration showed up at the door and said, you're wanted for an interview the next day, I did some quick research and found out I could be negotiating a bribe from within jail. I don't like jail. And I was like, that was a conversation I wasn't willing to have. I left the country the same day. Haven't been back. I'm not sure what this is doing for my credibility, but my point is, most of the time, I believe there's profit in the truth, even if it will cost you up front. I've had clients say, how do I tell my boss I think it's the wrong policy for the company? I think it's going to hurt the company, we're going to lose money, and I've already said something. How do I speak up? It's not easy. I'm just saying I think it's worth it. So my question for you is, what if you increased your truth-telling by 30%? Who would you be? Who would be drawn to you? What impact would you have on your friends, your partner, your kids, and yourself and your business? And then, as we come up to time, I think mainly what I want to say about daring is it's so closely related to truth. It takes a lot of daring and courage to tell the truth. Now, there might be other things like jumping off a mountain or walking over coals or just going for something edgy for you. I find when I lean into my fears, I feel better about myself. And my clients seem to as well. When I don't do something because of fear, like I was afraid to get up on this stage. Most people can't tell that I'm afraid, but I've been nervous for the last 4 hours. If I didn't get up, I wouldn't feel good about myself. When I do get up here, I feel like I've pushed back a boundary. So I'm an evangelist. I'm biased towards daring. Not all the time, as you've heard, but most of the time I think there's profit in taking that risk. So again, what would life be like if you increased your daring by 30%? And if you want an exercise to do on the plane, or tonight, or in the shower, just answer this question, like, what would I say, and who would I say it to? Is there a celebrity I'd ask for an endorsement? Would I ask someone for a JV venture? What would I do if I was 30% more daring? It's a great question. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the things that you did do. All right, yeah, I'm going to show this. This is like a 15-second clip. This was me on Australia's equivalent of the National Gong Show. It involved a kilt, and I was so terrified in the green room before I went on national TV. I lost bladder control for like a second. It was only about 3 drops, but do you think that had me more confident about walking out on stage in a kilt, or less confident? Can we play the video?
And Act 1 is Mr. Woody performing... What? Oh, sorry. Mr. Woody performing 500 miles. Mr. Woody. Mr. Woody? Audience, I need your help to sing a song. When I sing, da-da-da-da, you sing, da-da-da-da, right back. Just to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door.
Mr. Woody, So, thank you. I figure if I can walk out on national television in a kilt after losing bladder control slightly, you can do anything. Evidence this is possible. Again, one last quick example, and then I'll wrap up. I won't recap. You guys have got the gist. I'll say that I'm here to help. I'm here until Saturday. So if you want to brainstorm or tweak something around GPA, goals, planning, or action, or truth or daring, if you're interested in coaching, I have a few spots available. You can come and see me about that. So if I died today, what would I regret about how I'm living my life right now?
You've been listening to Tough Conversations with David Wood. Now it's action time. Mastering your tough conversations will have a major impact on your team, your company, and you as a high-performing executive or entrepreneur. If you're ready, request a discovery session with me at playforreal.life so we can transform your team, your company, and you. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I would love you to help me spread this message of tough conversations in a very simple way. Just leave a public review at playforreal.life/podcast. And you may hear me read it out loud and thank you live on a future podcast. Now, let's play.